Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to replace this interior door handle on 3rd gen Firebirds and Camaros. Door handles are weak. Here it's thin aluminum and it snaps off. I got this replacement off Amazon. It's a 2-pack, and today I'm going to show you guys how to replace it. We got to drill out some rivets. So to start out, make sure your window is all the way up. So we're going to start out, get yourself a T30 bit, Torx 30. And there's 3 screws you got to remove. There's one right here at the top. So get that out. And then there's 2 holes under here. There's one there. There's one here underneath. And you got to get up in there. It helps if you use an extension. I got my screw gun, but you can use a bit driver. And then take those 2 screws out. So you'll get your armrest out of the way. And then we're going to take this piece off. I have 7mm screws here because it's broken. But these are T15s, and I'll show you which screws to remove because some of these are dummy screws. Alright, so get your T15, and the screws you're going to remove are this one here on the bottom of the lock, if you have the power locks. This one here at the top. And then if you have this, there's 2 little screws here that hold that in. And that has to come off so that you can get this out of the way. And then these should be T15s, but they're 7s for me because they're broken. Mention, hidden behind this, once you take those 2 screws off, there's supposed to be a screw there that goes in there that mounts it. I didn't have that, so that's my fault for not mentioning that, so I do apologize. But anyone that, you have to take that off anyway to do it. So okay, once you have all that removed, there's a little plastic piece here behind the door handle. You kind of got to get out of there. You can usually just push it out through the top here. Get that out of the way. And then you kind of got to slide this forward, just kind of get it out of the way. This is the issue here, is this little lock thing. You push it in, lock the door, and then you can usually get it out. I'm also going to go ahead and just get that out of the way, slide it like that, and then here we go. Now you got a lot more room. See that little clip that holds into the door panel? That's what you got to get undone from there. Okay, and once you get to this point, this is the tricky part with this. Usually, if you can pull it out of the rod like I just did. If that doesn't work, you can't really get the actual slider piece out, so you have to pull it out of the rod. Okay, now that we're at this point, we can see kind of what's going on here with this handle. We might be able to access it through part of the door panel, but I'm thinking I'm going to take this off just to give everybody a clear view of what's going on. So what you do is you take this plastic piece off. Now this piece is kind of tricky for some people. For me, this one's on there kind of weak, but there's these little clips that clip into the top of the door here by the window, and you kind of just got to keep working it. Got this, here we go. But there's these little clips, you can see where it holds it inside the door here. Those clip into there. So anyways, this piece is kind of a pain to get out. There is a little weather strip piece that goes on there. I deleted it because it was a piece of crap for me, so I don't have that. But that's the tricky part, is getting that off. Then once you get that off, the door panel is pretty easy. We might even be able to access it just like this. I think what I'm going to end up doing, though, there is a plastic clip here. I don't have it on this one. This is a new door panel. But there's these plastic clips here. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of fold this down, and I can access that rivet right there, and we need to drill that out. Alright, the bit size I'm using for this is a 3/16 bit. You can probably use 1/4 inch, but we just need to drill right there, and make sure your window's up for this. This is where it could get kind of sketchy. All we have to do is just drill this aluminum rivet out, and then we're ready to go. It's going to be kind of tricky here. I'm filming with one hand, drilling with the other. And that's all it takes. It doesn't take very long. It doesn't take that much pressure. I did it with my left hand while filming. It doesn't take that much pressure, so just be gentle. Obviously, get your window up, and then we get that rivet out. So then, there's this piece here that holds it in. You slide it forward. I use this rod for the actual door. And then we got to see what's going on here. You can see the rod there and how it goes in. One thing to note, there's this little metal clip here on mine. Just pop it up off the rod there, And then I'm not sure why. I think it's actually supposed to go over it once you get it on. So this piece here, we need that. You can probably get away without it, but I'm going to reuse it because, I mean, I want this to last. So let's go ahead and get this on here. What you got to do is once this is out, you turn it like that and slide it out. Now we can see how it goes together. Let's get our replacement in. All right, so we got our replacement here. Now we got to get this rod into here. So just the same way it came out, I might need 2 hands to do this, but we got to get that rod in there. So I'm going to try and get it on film for you guys. What I find helps is I'm doing this with one hand here because I'm filming, but you can kind of open the new handle like this, and then that gives you some play here to get it right into that rod and right around. And then obviously we're forward, so we want that clip to go in there, that piece, just like that. And then I have rivets. I'm lucky enough to have a rivet gun and rivets. If not, you can find a screw and a bolt or something to thread into that, kind of get set up in that hole. I'll show you guys how to do that if you don't have a rivet gun. Okay, now before you tighten your nut and bolt, and before you do the rivet, we got to put that clip back on. So get your clip, and we're going to put that on there. All right, so get your fingers in there, put the little loop part on the rod. If I can access it here. Okay, just like that. And then once that's set up like this, you gotta get that in there, and then you should be able just to push down, get it kind of lined up with the rod. If you can. I'm struggling, but I'm also doing this with one hand. But get it lined up, and then you just clip it on. Obviously, if yours didn't have one of those clips, don't worry about it. Just like that, get that to clip on there so that somehow if this were to come detached, it can't because that clip's on there. So if you didn't have the clip, it's not a big deal. I'm sure it's not necessary, but I'll put it back on since mine had it. What you do, get this piece here and make sure it lines up, get it clipped in there. And then now I'm gonna do my rivet. If you guys have to use a nut and bolt, now's the time to do the nut and bolt. So I'm gonna show you guys here what I got. This is a screw set from Harbor Freight. This thing is awesome. I highly recommend that you guys go get one. It comes in handy for all sorts of stuff like this. I used one of these little screws here. You get your nut. I'm going to use a rivet, so I'm going to undo this, but I'm showing you guys just because I know how it is. Put your screw in like that. You could also do it backwards, but just so you know, with that little screw, if I can get the camera back there, there is enough clearance for you to get a nut on there, and you can have your wrench back there to hold the nut, and then you can tighten that with the screwdriver. I'm going to use the rivet because, well, that's what I have, and I know that's going to be better than this. So that's how you do it with the nut and the bolt. I'm sure a lot of you guys have little nuts and bolts laying around that you could probably do the same thing here, just maybe not with that same screw set. But I highly recommend that screw set. Comes in super handy for all sorts of stuff, so I highly recommend just getting one just to get it. But anyways, I'm going to get a rivet in here. Okay, I managed to get the camera back here. Get this to focus. So you can see, this is with the nut and the bolt. You can see where those threads are back there. That does not interfere with the path of travel for the rod or the regulator. So this is safe to do. You can use the nut and bolt, just so you guys know. I know a lot of people might have been sketched out by that, but you can use nut and bolt. Will be fine. Just check your clearance. So this right here, this is a 3/16 rivet. This is that Harbor Freight rivet gun I was talking about. And then what you gotta do is get your hole lined up, put it in there, and then find out where that hole is at. Make sure your clip stays in, because if you don't have that clip in with the rivet, you're gonna have to drill it out and redo that. Obviously with the nut and bolt, you can just take it off and redo it. All right, this looks good right here. Our clip's in. We got the metal piece, the rod attached there. Now let's do our rivet. All right, now so this part's kind of tricky, but what you got to do is get that door handle in here. So put your plastic piece on, and then start opening it a little bit. You can usually get it in there. Then there's this lock rod. Now this part's where it gets tricky because the lock rod is kind of tough. But if you're able to get it in there with the door handle in, just put it in just like that, and now you're set. Now this is the fun part. You get your slider piece. To take that out, I think you slide it all the way forward and then it just comes out. But to get this back in here, we need to try and get this pushed in there like that. And then we need to get this little rod to go in this hole that's in here. And to do that, you could probably use a flathead. I'm going to try and use my finger, but flathead might be the smartest way to go here. Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to get a flathead. So I got my flathead here. For some reason this rod's twisted, so we got to get underneath there with the flathead and then try and push that in there and get that lined up with that hole that's on there. Pretty sure that might be it. We'll see. Just pry up a little bit. Okay, so pretty sure I just got that. Yes, okay, that's it right there. So what I did is you got to make sure, because it's like a U shape, you got to make sure that rod is going in. I can't really show you guys too good. If this is that lock rod, you got to make sure that that plastic slider, it's lined up on that rod from the back. Then you use that as a guide to push that where it bends out into here. And then just give it a nice firm press and it'll clip in there. And now we're good to go here. That's gonna need some lube. All right, and once we get this on, before we go too crazy with the screws, we need to get this back in. Luckily, with it the way it is, you can just kind of get it in from behind and just loop it around. So I had to use 2 hands there. Show you how I got that in. Clips just like that. There's a little hole there actually where it's supposed to clip in on the door handle. Same on the bottom. It's that little piece. And then it's just like that. It's not fully clipped in yet, but that's how you get that piece in there. There's that hole right there. That's where I'm not clipped in right there, is that middle piece. See that? That's where I got to be clipped in there. So that's how you get that piece in. Anyway, now that all that's taken care of, now we got to do this part. So there's a plastic clip here, and that goes into the door panel here. You can kind of see where I roughed up this door panel, but you just slide that on there, just like that. Now that's on there. Then what you do is get your screw here, put that screw in. Alrighty, so off camera I got that piece lined up, clipped in a lot better. So now we can do the screws. So you got one screw right there set up for here. And then you got your 2 screws there that screw into the door handle. And then you have 2 screws here for the faceplate that goes over this. And then 2 screws here for the faceplate that goes over this. I don't have that faceplate, but then we'll do the top and the armrest. I got my 2 7mm screws here set up for this. I'm pretty sure these are T15s for everybody else that this piece isn't broken for. But for me, there's 7mm with a washer. Anyways, now we'll do the top piece. So this piece is fun. The pointy slanted end goes over here, and the flat end goes at the other end of the door. So what you do is put it over your door panel like that, so it's in there. And then you gotta get those clips, these plastic clips, back where they get retained right there in the door. So I'll do that. I might have to do it off camera. Alright, so I actually just got it. If you start over here, it's not as bad. And then work your way towards the other end. But you just, boom, clip it in just like that. Make sure your door panel's not buckled. Mine's nice and clean. So boom, then we're in just like that. It might be a pain with this weather strip if you haven't deleted that. I deleted that because it was just old and bad. Now let's continue. There's this piece that goes into the slot. So you do it like that, and we'll put our screws in. Just like so. I don't have this piece, but I assume it's similar in nature to how you put that back. Anyways, now we'll move to the armrest, because this can actually be finished up after you put the armrest on. So get your 3 screws, they're T30s. And I like to start with this right here, since it's the highest point. Get it lined up, screw that in, and then the bottom part's tricky a little bit. You kind of have to feel around with the screw and your bit driver, but then there's that. All right, brand new door handle. Go ahead, once it's buttoned up, hop in, give it a shot. Working good. That's what I'm talking about. So that's how you replace an interior door handle on a 3rd generation Firebird or Camaro. The process is the same for the Camaro. And there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this helped you guys out. And have an excellent day. Like and subscribe.